I forgot to mention that, trigger warning, there will be mentions of rape and suicide briefly in this podcast, so if you're not comfortable with that, just be on the lookout for when it does come up, okay? Thank you.
So, welcome everybody to this podcast that we're doing. My name is Amisha.
Yo.
I will not disclose my last name for internet reasons. Before I introduce my wonderful friends I have here, I will just give a little blurb and like a little introduction about myself and like about like the whole Airways thing, because you know it's not the most well known. So my name is Amisha, and I am in a program called College Now, and this is for my history project in which we're researching discriminated and groups, and I chose LGBTQ plus, more specifically Airways people, because like they intrigue me. They're interesting. So Airways stands for aromantic and asexual, and the definition of aromantic came out in about like aromantic as a term came out in around like the early 2010s. So again, it's a really like it's a newer term, and it's kind of like you experience like little to no romantic attraction. It's like it's a whole spectrum. If you guys find it interesting, then you should do your own research. Asexual, similarly enough, it's like you feel little to no sexual attraction towards a person, and asexual is actually a term that was actually popularized a little bit earlier than aromantic. There were signs of like the term being used on the internet around like the 1990s and such. Also, a disclaimer: I'm not claiming that I know everything. I'm just sharing what I've learned, and I have these classmates and friends who are in the community who can like kind of share their experiences. But I'm not speaking on behalf of the community. So now you guys can introduce yourselves. Woo!
Yay.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go first. Hi. Um, I'm Nix. I am Amisha's friend. I'm also a part of the College Now program. So hi.
Hello, I am Evan. I'm also a part of the College Now program. I'm also Amisha's friend, and I am part of the I Am Arrow Ace spec.
Woo!
And
Richie.
yeah, I'm Richie. I'm not a part of the program. I'm just a friend of Amisha who's part of the community and questioning on the Arrow Ace spectrum.
Which is like interesting. We got like some cool people in the call right
Yeah.
now. Woo!
We've got some
Yeah.
people at the end of the journey. We've got some people at the
Yeah.
beginning of the journey. Oh, we should also say our pronouns. I use he, they
Yes.
pronouns.
I
You
use
can
they,
go.
them.
They, them as well.
And I she her because I am cis. I gotta disclose that, man.
The only one.
I'm the only
The
one
token cis.
who is straight and who is cis.
What a sad life.
It's
I
fine,
know,
we're
man.
here to educate. We're here to help you. It's okay.
To add more
We'll
spice
sway
in my
you.
life. Thank you guys. You're so
Okay,
helpful.
should we jump in?
We
Yeah.
we should jump right in. Okay, so since there's like not a lot of like history going like way back on like Airways spectrum, talking about like in America, I'm kind of gonna be a little bit more general in this presentation, but Evan has a separate episode which he will present on his own, which will go more into specifics about his third topic. But right now for me, I'm doing a little bit more general. So like in the past, obviously LGBTQ plus discrimination, there's something called the Lavender Scare, which occurred during the Red Scare, which a lot of people have learned about, but not all people know what the Lavender Scare is. I will elaborate for people who do not know. The Red Scare is basically when America was scared that they were communists who were going to basically betray America, and the Lavender Scare was basically something that was similar, but it was targeted towards gay and lesbian people, because America believed, great old America, they believed that people who were in the LGBTQ plus community were more susceptible to blackmail and overall betray America. Basically, they had a law that just totally was saying people who are in the LGBTQ community, people who are gay and lesbian, just cannot be in government jobs. So like, they would have interviews like and interrogations, specifically like delving into like sexual activities of what people were doing and like seeing like who would be fired and like some people were fired. I believe there is I believe historian David K. Johnson said that somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 people lost their jobs. And so this policy acted as a deterrent to any gay man or lesbian woman who would have been prospective candidates for these government jobs. And so you know, this kind of shows how many people were like contributing to America who were LGBTQ plus. Like there were people in the community who like it wasn't like this whole underground thing. Like there were people and like I don't know, I feel like a lot of people kind of like feel that like LGBTQ people are just making it up, like it didn't exist before. Like it existed before and it still exists now. They're a very strong community. And so like even though like in 1975 the Civil Service Commission announced that gay people could no longer be barred or fired from federal employment, which was a thing that was like stopping gay people from like entering government jobs, right? Like there's still a lot of like sexuality and discrimination in other agencies, like the NSA, which is where this man named Jamie Shoemaker, who was a gay man, was like allowed to join. We can see that like that stigma of like LGBTQ bad in government jobs and like jobs in general has still like carried on to now because there's a lot of like discrimination, even though like there has been a lot of laws saying that you can't discriminate. Like, do you guys want to add about that?
So there are laws saying that you can't discriminate against certain groups in the hiring process and in your job. However, I think there's also the thing that people don't consider, that it's like it's really hard to prove discrimination unless it's someone literally saying a slur to you. It's really difficult to prove, hey, someone's not firing me like someone's not hiring me, or my boss is not treating me well specifically because like you're queer. And I think because of that you get this like, oh, it's not illegal for you to get jobs anymore, so why are you upset? Why is there a problem? It's really hard to prove discrimination in any circumstance, but especially jobs. And I think because of that, you get a lot of circumstances where people are not like financially well enough to they're not financially well enough to like get like they can't get better paying jobs, so they can't get like a lot, so like there's a high poverty rate, so they have lower rates of medical insurance, so
Yeah, this kind of
there's
like
all
leads
this
into
stuff.
your topic for the next episode, which again is
Yeah.
very. Y'all should watch that. Anyways,
There's also
Shameless plug.
Sorry.
plugging. We're gonna plug it. So like
Anyway.
yeah. Continuing on, like because of this, like it would probably lead up to like the lack of like I want to say like representation in general because a lot of people were probably very scared about coming out. It's they didn't want to have like to go through this problem about like being discriminated against like during employment and having like financial issues, et cetera, and like social issues as well. This also ties into social issues, and you know, this again leads to like a broken social environment where like people might not be necessarily feeling like they're being supported. Like the Trevor Project, they did a project that was like based on like suicide prevention and mental health, and they discovered that asexual youth have reported slightly higher rates of symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder. This is quoting from them, by the way. This is quoting from the article. They have reported slightly higher rates of symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder in comparison to those who do not identify as asexual. And it actually goes on to say that like they are commonly overlooked and you know they should be more I guess included, which can also tie into like ace phobia and such, where it's like people either don't count them as part of the community or like they don't think that like ace people arrow ace people like exist. You know, it's like how can you not have romantic or like how can I have sexual feelings? You know, people just like invalidate that, you know.
Yeah. I think there's also a thing where it's like people will claim, I've heard people like claim that is people who are like arrow spec like I think there's like this thing where it's like people are like, oh, romance is part of being a human. And I think
Mm.
that's very very ick stance, but it definitely like contributes. Like people are like like why should you deserve a place for not loving people? And I think it's like a very big like misconception, because like just because you're arrow ace, like just because you don't love people romantically does not mean you can't have deep platonic love for other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're not a heartless being, you know.
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah, I'm gonna add something here. Like, love comes in many different forms. It doesn't have to just be romantic, which is something I really don't like about having like, oh, if you love someone, you say like, especially this, like, I love you to a friend is like this is different. Like, it's platonic. Like, it's such like a really weird thing where you can't say like I love you to like the opposite gender of a friend, and it kills me inside because it's like,
Mhm.
dude, platonic like like the frustration comes from this is just like the stigma around like like having words being like strictly for romantic purposes but it can be also used for platonic. I can't really explain it, but
It's
yeah.
actually, yeah, it's kind of weird as well because English, like, there are a lot of languages that have multiple words for love that have different implications. In English, we've just lumped it all together.
Yeah.
I think there's also the thing. I don't know. I kind of I as Airways myself, just by I do feel romantic feelings, but it's only like in certain circumstances. Like I have to know the person for a really long time because I am Demi. Um, but because of that, like I feel like there's a really big oversaturation of romance in like a lot of media. Like you don't I think it's like this it's put so much there's put so much importance on romance, and I don't like a lot of people can't relate to that. And also, I just think it's a bit like why are you attaching so much of your worth as a person to if you have a romantic relationship or not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Can
get
I
that
add
too.
something?
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah.
This is something that like uh I've also found, especially with like older generations, but there also like seems to be the stigma of like not having a romantic partner makes you like a lonely person. Like there's a
Oh
stigma that like if
no.
you don't have a romantic person, you are a lonely, unhappy
Mhm.
person, and the media just
Mm,
continues to like solidify that, even though like very obviously that's not true.
yeah.
But yeah,
I actually brought up the idea of platonic marriage to someone, like an older person. They were like above
Oh.
40. And it was a very interesting reaction to me. So basically the way I reacted is like, well, someone wanted to get like platonically married to their friend because it has benefits and it's like their best friend. They want to live with them and they're not interested in having a romantic relationship. And they said that that was sad. And I was
Oh
like, that
no.
sounds I was
What?
like, I think it's the different I think it's that
Oh my
similar
goodness.
thing though of like they see not having a romantic relationship as like you're gonna die alone. I think because of that it's like I don't think marriage has to be I think it's like we've overbuilt this idea that romance is like super important and you need to be in a romantic relationship by your 40s or else you're doomed. And it's like no, no, you don't need to be in a romantic relationship. You just like you should have people around, like obviously you should have people around you that care about you and that you care about, but that doesn't mean it has to be romantic. It could be familial or it could be platonic or
I
it could
actually,
be so many
sorry.
other things.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
would like to add the marriage definition on Google literally states the legal or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. It never said it was romantic. It could be platonic.
Mm.
There
Also,
you go.
like, yeah,
Google it.
like adding on, people think that a romantic relationship means that like it's it's romantic and you're gonna have like sex and you're gonna have kids and like et cetera, et cetera. Like that's like the quote unquote
Mm.
standard like nuclear family household. Marriage is not just for that, you know. It's like it can
Mm.
be like to feel closer, and in some places it's kind of just like a piece of paper. So it really depends on like what it means to you, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like marriage is made way more important than it has to be,
in
Yeah,
in
history,
general, to
marriage
be
wasn't even
honest.
about love.
Exactly,
Yeah, marriage
exactly.
in the first place was transactional. That, and also I feel like you don't need to get married to have a happy, stable life. Like I think a lot of people act like, "Oh, if you have kids and you and like you're in a relationship, then you have to be married or else it's not stable." And I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think that
Um
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of adds on to one of my other topics, which I will like dab a little bit in, which is kind of just like a lot of laws in the U.S. and like certain states like restrict like same-sex couples from having like adopting children, which is like is kind of stupid. I will say like out loud. Like some states make it easier, but some states make it harder, and it is like ridiculous how many children who are in the foster care system can be adopted and have a loving and happy family, but just cannot because of like all these like barriers that are put and can provide, but just because like man and woman kind of couples like they just can't have that. Y'all kind of agree on that one?
um
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
Right.
I agree.
Y'all have any
I
other
feel like
stories? Yeah.
one
Yeah.
like I know this is like a different like a further thing into your script, but like I like to mention it, but like the popular animator Jaden Animations recently came out as Arrow Ace,
Yeah, I was gonna add
and
that later. Yeah.
she said in her video was that people say like, oh, you need to be in a romantic relationship, and then after like when they say like you're having a rough
Oh
time, they're
yeah.
like they combat you with saying like relationships take time and because you want other people to fit in your idealized society when
Yeah.
they didn't want it in the first place, and I find that like
Yeah.
clear ones
Also,
add
I feel
on.
like forcing people into relationships is like the best. Like, I we like forcing someone into a relationship is not only gonna make everyone unhappy, but it's gonna get so much worse if they have kids. Because
Mhm.
Ooh,
having two people who don't want to be in a relationship with each other is not a good recipe for parenting. I think we can all like acknowledge it's better to have one good parent than two parents who are not good to be around each other.
yep.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Or have two parents of the same gender who are like want
That's
to be together.
very true. I think the most important thing about I think like any type of relationship, especially like with parenting, is the important thing is that like you care about each other. Like it needs to be a stable, healthy relationship. And when you're parenting a kid, you need to make sure that you're able to be a parent and be supportive. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're like straight or if you're a single parent or if you like even if you're going through mental issues. It's like
If y'all we can touch on the topic later because this is like one of the topics that I have that noted down for later. Again with the past stigmas because we're really good with that. A lot of people in the community get misdiagnosed by doctors. If y'all want to like,
Uh,
yeah.
huh.
So it's kind of like for, at least for specifically like asexual people, a lot of the time it has been noted that like they have been put into like hormone therapy to like quote unquote fix the sexual drive or whatever. And there's also something called like corrective rape, I believe, which totally, yeah, it makes it it's, to put it simply, it makes it apparently okay in the minds of the court and everybody else to rape a person because you're quote unquote fixing them and you know making them totally not asexual, when if anything a lot of people
mm,
get scarred by that, and that should not be able to be justified, but it happens, and it's a phrase for a reason. People get away with this kind of thing. For more general, I guess, like talking about like homosexuality, um like being gay used to be considered like a choice or like something immoral or something like that, as you all can probably like understand.
Haha.
some
Haha,
people
yeah.
still
Exactly.
think it's a choice.
Yeah, it's not a choice, but it used to be considered
It's not.
like like a mental illness.
Unnatural.
Yeah. So
I-
like
Mental
Yeah.
illness.
exactly because in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, I know it's a long word, homosexuality was actually put in there as a mental illness. So it was by definition a mental illness and a very reputable source. So you can always trust your sources. That's number one, and number two, um, like there was like a big, like a lot of like I guess it's like a big like ripple for change in the community because there were like a lot of people saying that like no, this is not actually a mental illness. This is totally normal. There were a lot of like boycotts of like APA meetings. APA again stands for the American Psychiatric Association. There were a lot of like disruptions from activists in those kinds of meetings until I believe in 1972 in Dallas when a psychiatrist who was disguised, I believe they were wearing a Nixon mask, declare that they were homosexual, and that got in the news. So again, media is helping us kind of get out this message. But this person said that I am a psychiatrist, like, and I am a homosexual, I am gay, and so this like kind of changed the public perception of homosexuals because psychiatrist. And he is speaking on the behalf of like many people who are homosexual, saying that this is not a mental illness, like this is totally normal. So it's like I don't know. Do any of you guys just like how to word this question correctly because I don't think of this before, but it's like have any of you guys like been given weird looks because of the way that you were like you like claimed yourself to be like different than like people thought you were?
Oh, only every time I walk down the street.
No.
Yeah, I definitely could say as a trans person that like I get glares from older people. I know a lot of people. That might just be because I don't know, I'm younger and old people seem to just not like young people. But it's definitely because of the way I dress. Because I dress masculine. That's not a lot of older people don't like that.
But you have really pretty eyelashes. You're a very pretty guy, I will say.
Thank you. But yeah, I've also been told multiple times that being trans doesn't exist despite scientific evidence, which is dumb,
That's
Agree.
you know.
great, man. We love
I
we
get
love
that a
when we're
lot
not
for
believers.
being non-binary. People are like, "There's only two genders."
Oh
I'll
no.
like,
Only two.
I'll sometimes like, not often, luckily, but I have gotten like or seen like even people a part of the community be like, "Oh, like non-binary is not a gender," like ignoring like all the history and whatever. She's like, no, there's only
All
two.
the research we have. I think that's the most irritating thing as a queer person. Just
Yeah.
people don't want to do research, and we have to reap the consequences of that. And like every time I have a discussion with an older person who just didn't use Google, I'm just like, uh, I
Yeah.
don't
We
want
all
to
suck
answer
at
your insensitive questions that have nothing to do with my experience.
Yeah, it's like one thing's like we're not responsible to educate you, but also we're totally fine of like if we can if you want to ask us like some brief questions and help you like look into it further, because I would say I am unlabeled in both gender and sexuality. It's just
I think
like
the thing is, a lot of people will be like, if you can Google it, you probably don't need to ask it. I think that's the thing. I think a lot of queer people, or at least I'm very open to questions that are about my personal experience. But if it's something you can Google, you don't you probably don't need to ask it. Unless it's like a thing where you're asking someone where you can start their research or yeah.
yeah,
My general thing is if you can Google it, don't ask me. You would rather
yeah,
not. Or if you've already Googled it and you can't find it. If you've done the research and you can't find it, then I think that's okay. But yeah, we are not your information. Like it's also the thing I think like a lot of queer information is very personal. Like we don't know not just because someone's queer doesn't mean they know everything.
Again, it's like on a spectrum. It's like not every single ace person can like speak on the behalf of like all these people because you all experience like that kind of attraction like differently. Not all bi people can say like this is exactly what bi is being like because that's their thing. That's like specific to them, you know. And
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
Like I'm a
yeah.
spec. I'm not going to claim that I can like I'm a Acer a spec, but I'm not going to claim that I can vouch for everyone on the spectrum because I am one part of the spectrum and other people are other parts. And each like everyone has their own specific experiences.
But
The
I
thing,
will,
the
yeah.
major queer experience, at least that I found, is you have to like do your research to prove that you exist to the world. You constantly have to like validate your existence to other people, and it can get really tiring after a while.
And like they have
Yeah.
like studies done, and like people just refuse to believe studies. Like it's really stupid. It's like I think there was some sort of study that was done. It is proven that there is like a difference um there was like that like being trans is not like an illness because like in the brain like it's not like a mental illness, it's just how they feel, you know. And like people in the
Yeah.
comments of that video that were introducing that were like saying like you're lying, and I'm like, guys, the link is in the description to go ahead and find like the study. Like this is not like they're not making this up. This is like an actual study that's been done, and people just like invalidate it. Like they just don't want to believe
I
it.
think there's also the thing that people don't acknowledge where it's like, where is the benefit to anyone to confirm this? I mean, obviously it benefits queer people, but like if people would like claim that it's I've heard people claim that it's like it not I don't think propaganda is the right word.
Like it's in their
But like
agenda.
I've heard people claim that not even necessarily agenda, like that people are just spouting nonsense for like benefit or profit.
Clout.
But like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
see how it can benefit anyone. Like if you're a company putting something out, like your research out, you're more likely to be retaliated against
If anything,
for
yeah.
confirming, hey, yeah, queer people exist.
I feel like
Yeah.
I've never understood that. Why would you? I've never understood any. Honestly, I don't understand a lot of like the arguments where it's like, why would you choose to be queer? Because it's the harder option. It's definitely the more difficult option.
and like the queers who supposedly quote unquote they have like come out. People don't like to use that term, some of them, but I mean I'm going to use it because it's convenient for me to use. It's like people who have quote unquote come out, like they're a minority in the community. I feel just based on like how many people that I've seen at least in like in this area. You know, it's like the people who are like openly and available, like showing off like that they are in the LGBTQ plus community. Like they are not like the majority of the community speaking.
No. Um. Yeah. No. A lot of the majority goes. Especially trans people go stealth a lot. If you don't know what stealth means, basically, I think stealth is when you're pretending to be cis, but you're
Yeah.
trans. You just don't tell anyone that you're trans. It's usually people who have are further in their transition states.
Again,
Um,
it's like fighting the invalidation that like people in society have kind of created, which I mean, you know, again goes back to like how like literally in the trusted source of the American Psychiatric Association, like they were saying that like, yep, this is a mental illness. They did their research apparently, and that's a mental illness. Like that was a source that was trusted and that was believed, and yet people still fought back because like they knew that it was right, but that's like the invalidation that they hear, and that's an invalidation that they like face, and like it's hard to fight back when you're fighting against like a good majority of America.
yeah. I that's
Mhm.
actually I think it's hard to find, but there are like I think that's why like there's like kind of a queer culture in a way because queer people have had to hide for so long. It's like we almost had to separate ourselves to be safe,
Oh yeah,
you know?
like queer people and the LGBTQ community definitely have their own like uh I don't know like culture, but like definitely a history uh
Yeah.
that like that specifically queer people like share whether they realize it or not, and also like uh being able to like being in the closet still like accounts for that, because I've heard some people say that, like, if you're in the closet, like, you're still not a
Still
part of the
part of it.
community, but very much are.
Yeah, I think being in the closet is like one of the biggest parts about being in the community because
Mhm.
so much of the community's experience is built around not being able to be yourself, like openly yourself. And I think being in the closet is like just it's such a fundamental experience to being queer. Because it's like that shared experience of like, hey, we have to kind of hide from certain, like especially from certain people.
Yeah, we have to,
It's
like, lie to be something we aren't, because that's the only way we can defend ourselves, really.
like it's to the point where like there's something I think it's called like is a flagging, I think.
Yeah.
It's basically just it's like very quiet like queer signaling.
Yeah, and again, it's like as a straight person, I am a straight person, but it's like being like unforgivably yourself is considered a right, but like to some of these people, like it's a privilege to be unforgivably yourself, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Like you should be able to be yourself and be what you want, but like social society needs to like we need to like educate ourselves. We need to like understand other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Especially when, like, I would say America is probably one of the more open countries. If you're talking about like the Middle East, you can't, if you even try and come out, or you try to come out to your family, you're dead. You're you're like
Yeah.
dead, and it's
You
like
can't be
so,
out to
yeah, you just can't.
in the public.
And even
I've
like in
actually
Atlanta,
had
yeah.
I've had
Sorry, go ahead.
adults argue actually against me for that, where it's basically like I'll be talking about issues that happen in America and with the queer community, and they'll be like, "But it's so much worse in other countries." I think the thing is, I think my opinion is because we are able to openly talk about, we should. Like, I don't think it's I don't think it's like I think it's a disservice to people in other countries who can't talk about for us to not talk about the issues that we're facing because we're giving up an opportunity that they don't have. Like we can make a choice to not to push things to the side and ignore it, but other people can't.
And
They don't
again,
have a
like
choice in it, and we give the opportunity to make things better.
yeah, and again, like we're in
I
California. Like we are very California's quite open in the state. I feel it's quite open in the matter. So like we have, I would argue we have a lot more like freedom here than in some other states.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Mm. We're one
Like
of
I think
the
it's a
red states.
great thing that we can actually talk about this now. Like not gonna get attacked or at least like not where we live. We're not gonna get like not gonna get targeted for speaking about our issues, which is definitely not true for everyone in
Hmm.
America. As before, we live in like a very nice state. But yeah,
Thank you,
still issues.
California. Thank you, California. But even still, here we
Uh,
get like people get like invalidated. So like, freaking, we all need to like again like learn and like educate other people and speak up because that's one of the only ways that nowadays like use the media. Like this is why we're doing this like podcast because like using the media is one of the ways that nowadays people can like understand and like kind of help others understand like that like being different is perfectly okay. Like that's perfectly healthy. That is perfectly fine. It's nothing to like fear or nothing to like be like, oh no, I just realized I am this identity. Like it's not something that should be feared or that should be considered like the most terrible thing in the world. It should be considered as healthy, if anything, and it should be considered as like people should be able to understand. Again, human empathy, man. Human empathy is key.
yeah. We wouldn't be where we are in society if we didn't have differences. Like imagine how boring everything would be if everyone was just like the same copy and print version of each other. It'd be very not interesting. We'd also probably get like nowhere um in any scientific or mathematical field.
Yeah, adding on to the scientific part, like we need to do more studies on this because like not just like being like aromantic or asexual, like just in general. We need to do more research. We gotta step up our game on that as well because like again, people are like still like even if there is evidence, people are still refuting it. But I
We
mean,
also need more queer people leading these studies because
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of studies that are done are led by cishet people. And the problem about having queer studies led by cishet people is that you can get biases that you don't intend to get in, but they happen anyway.
That's what I love about the Trevor Project. Like as a person who has taken statistics class, I will say like I've like seen some of the other articles and they like kind of like post some of like the more raw data and like I can see that like these like they post the data and I can like trust that, you know, it's kind of from a trusted source as well. But I mean, yeah, agree with you, Evan. That's like some like queer people should also be able to like do that and interpret it because it's kind of backhanded if it's like a study about queer people, but it's done by like a cishet person, you know?
I think it's also the thing where it's like queer people know what I think have more of an idea of what we should be studying in
Yeah.
the first place. And yeah, having like because we actually know know more and generally we know more about what's going on.
Yeah, from like personal
And
experience.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Now we're on to the topic of what we were talking about before about like single parents or parents who are like, you know, same gender couple like adopting kids and, you know, taking kids into the family household, you know? At least like some of this is more centric in California, but like California has a big population, so this is kind of just like big numbers. So in a 2010 report by the Williams Institute, there are, I believe, let me see what this says, 15,698 same-sex couples, raising an estimated amount. This is estimated, an estimated amount of 31,396 children in the state of California. So think about this. Those are big numbers. Those are big numbers. And the California
Big
law,
numbers.
yeah, exactly. Big numbers. And the California law doesn't allow discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity, like against the youth in this welfare system, which is according to the law of the 2003 Fostering Care Non-Discrimination Act, which is great. Thanks, California. We love that.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's also not.
exactly. Those are like.
Sorry.
And you can go ahead and talk. It's okay if you want to say something.
But I was about to just say that's not a lot of other places. Like there aren't as many protections as like in like more conservative states, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
Texas.
yeah. That would, that would,
Yeah.
we're gonna for real shout out
It's not.
Texas.
I don't think it's illegal. I don't think they can make it illegal, but they
Yeah,
definitely make it harder.
because again, it's like state laws versus like country laws. Like you cannot
Federal.
outright, yeah, you cannot outright like make it not allowed, but you can put loopholes and you can put barriers, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's the
They
thing.
want to
There's
make it
always
illegal.
loopholes. I think this is like the problem we had with the jobs thing earlier. It's like it doesn't matter. Like, oh yes, there's anti-discrimination laws, but the thing is, there are also like a lot of laws purposely have loopholes in them. Um, and because of that, or like are easy to like are easy to get around, and because of that you get a lot of issues that but you can't really acknowledge the issues as easily because it's like, oh, there's not, no, there's a law against this, it's okay, but then you have like stuff like microaggressions that you can't like it's hard to make a law to protect against microaggressions for another law. No, but yeah, and then there's also a thing with queer children in the foster care system, which is also an issue,
Oh yeah,
especially recently.
yeah, we can touch on that
Texas.
one. We can touch on that one a little later. Don't worry. I have it all planned out in my
Yeah.
big cranium. Um, so I'm gonna go on a little fact rant if you don't mind me. So according to the Children's Law Center of California, again, this is very California centric. On any given day, there are nearly 437,000 children in the foster care system in the U.S., but in California, there are over 60,000 children in the foster care system. And so, and there are so many children who are in the foster care system and same-sex couples are actually 7 times more likely to raise an adopted child than different sex couples, which is like kind of the thing we were touching on before, where like if the if the people are like if the people are like financially available and emotionally available for this child, then they should be able to adopt them, right? But like um only 15 states, as well as the District of Columbia, thank you, District of Columbia, allow unmarried LGBTQ plus people to adopt children through second parent adoptions, which is like um defining the second parent means like when a child belongs to one partner is adopted by like a non-legal or like a non-biological second parent. And actually 7 states limit this ability, which is great, great for
Ugh.
yeah. And again, talking about like how marriage is not just like romantic and sexual feelings. It can be like there can be things as like platonic, and it can be defined separately for different couples,
Yeah.
And like Arizona and Utah gave a preference to a married man or woman like over same-sex couples, which means that a lot of children might not be adopted because of the preference given towards the married man and married woman.
Yeah, I think there's also the thing where it's like, okay, you could be, there are definitely situations where it's like, people who would be very good parents are turned away just because, just because they're a same-sex couple, and then people who definitely should not be parents are able to adopt anyway. Um, Despite it, like it's kind of insane because it's like you get people who are who deal with foster care children and adopted children, and they like just they should not be parents, but nothing's done about it. It's like, and then you get like, oh no, you could possibly be amazing parents and really look out for this kid. You're not allowed, and then you just can't because of bias, and really irritating.
Mhm. And like going back to Utah, there's a thing called the cohabitation ban, which means that like two people cannot adopt a child if they live with like if like they live with an unmarried partner. Which I mean, different relationships, like they're like again, this kind of like barring them from like allowing to like adopt children or like having the freedom to like have a child, because it's like not
Yeah,
every person wants a biological child, not every person like would care to have one, it's like it's
it's
it's frustrating.
really feeding into the nuclear family.
Exactly, this is like the nuclear family, like mom, dad, like very specifically female and male
um,
married. They have 2 kids
yeah.
and they have a dog.
2.5 kids. You gotta remember the 0.5.
Oh, yo, you're right. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Only half of a kid, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have right between you have a third child, but they only spend half their time at your house.
No, let's just pair of
You
legs.
see, you
That's
have the
basically.
oldest, the youngest, and then the middle child who's only there like half the time because you kind of forget that they're there in the first place.
Low key Disney child though. Like, come on. It's just the one friend who's like always coming over, and like they're not an actual child, but like they're kind of sort of a child.
Yeah.
But
This is a little
yeah.
random, but I also feel like the adoption like thing, like something that doesn't help is that there's still like genuinely some people who believe that like you can catch being gay, like it's an
Oh
airborne
no.
disease.
Yeah. It's
There's still
yeah,
people like
y'all,
that.
yeah, so if a gay person coughs on you, you're gonna catch it. And the water's gonna turn the frickin' frogs gay.
So the good thing is that there has been attempts at change, which is our segue into the next topic. Attempts at change, you guys.
Woo!
Woo!
Yay!
Although a lot of this is political, not necessarily social, so keep your happiness to yourselves for a little bit.
Oh,
Got it.
I'm
alright.
sorry, because it's like a lot of the time it's like sure. Okay, we probably will get more into this on the Evans episode because he does much more like like laws and stuff. But like while there is political change, there is not necessarily social change, which is a little bit we need to work on that. But like there are laws and there are organizations that are helping out with this. that are helping out with like either changing the public image or like creating a more accommodating space, you know? Like one example, January 1st of 2000, the year 2000, there was a law about the enforcement of sexual orientation and enforcement of non-discrimination, which was added to the Fair Housing and Employment Act, which basically is, you know, you cannot discriminate against people for housing and employing based on like these specific requirements. So like that was like strengthened and enforced, which is, you know, great for people who have different sexual orientations or like who, you know,
I feel outside of that.
yeah, different
Like,
orientations, but the problem is it's hard to prove it. So again,
yeah.
socially we also need
This
to
is
change.
it's too many loopholes.
I know, like we're taking right steps in some ways, but like socially I feel
Yeah.
like the internet.
And I think I think there has been recent social change, but I think the it's like the thing of is it enough, you know? Like
Mhm.
I guess kind of. It's like there's social change. I think like it's definitely like socially more accepted, but I think at least in younger people. But there's also still so many like problems and biases and so much willful ignorance
Again, like
of
going back to like
queer
the
problem situations.
yeah, going back to like the healthcare doctor thing, it's like some doctors will like because I think now like when I went to the doctor recently, they had like a questionnaire asking me about like my sexuality and stuff, which is like it was
Oh
cool.
yeah, yeah, those.
Yeah, but like some doctors will like outright say like, you know, you need therapy, you need fixing. I got this. Don't worry, I can help you. When it's like I don't need help. And they're like, "No, no, 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 it's okay.
Yeah.
We can help you." But you know, sometimes you don't always need help, you know?
Not everyone. Yeah, you don't need therapy just because you're gay. You might need therapy for other reasons that
Oh
relate to
no.
it, but
But yeah, that's a whole
that's a
different
different
topic.
conversation.
That's a different conversation. I mean, again, it's like if we don't speak out about this, like people who, again, like they feel like I'm different and I am like, you know, you feel just much more sad and depressed, and you feel like you're very lonely in this. And again, that can tie into higher rates of trigger warning of suicide, right? And like I know people have definitely dealt with that. So it's important to like let people know that like they're like they are they are included and they're loved and they're like appreciated, and B, it's also important to let them know that it's like that's totally normal, you know. And like I feel like in our society right now we don't entirely embrace the fact that like it is normal.
Yeah. Though I do want to say I do think this is another win for the internet. I think one of the great things about the internet in general is just you can find people even if they're in a even if they're on the literal other side of the world, on the literal other side of the world. You can find people who have like similar interests or like are going through the same issues as you.
Mhm.
Um
And you can like find
like
like yeah.
it helps connect communities. And I think the ability to so easily connect to other queer people and be able to support each other and know, hey, it's okay. We're not actually that different. We're not like we're not I guess we're not like I don't have a problem. I'm not like it's not I'm not like a mistake or making it up. It's like no, other people have these experiences and they can relate to you and can help you at least at the very least emotionally through through these experiences.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like another thing. It's like I want to segue into Jaden Animations, who is the reason why I knew that this label was a thing. Actually, she introduced me to the label of Airways. Of course, I don't identify with it, but I feel like that was like very impactful in the community because she's a very popular content creator. Like you see her subscriber count and you see like how many views she gets in these videos. Like she's very impactful as a content creator, and she she kind of like she's a very trusted person, I feel. And like she was like explaining like her own personal struggles about finding out that she's aro ace. Like when she was younger she was saying that like nobody around me was attractive and I just couldn't figure out why, and she thought that like it was her fault, you know. She thought that like for some
Mm.
reason like I don't know what's wrong with me, but like people around me just aren't attractive. And like she didn't know that because like romance was like quote unquote like a whole constructive thing where like it was like expected of people.
It's oversaturated.
Yeah, I remember
Can I
her.
also? Oh,
Oh, sorry.
you go.
Okay, sorry. I remember her saying like she just like scoped out on all her classes and say like and just picked one person so she could be quote unquote up to speed with everyone because she
Pikachu.
thought that, and then it was just like, oh, this is like, man, our society has been built around this thing. And it's just like, and also, we should probably link the video to it because it's actually a really good video.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I
but yeah.
do as one of the aerospec people here, I can relate to that. I look back when I was younger, it's like no kid, that's not what it was. You just felt societally pressured to be a certain way. Please stop. I do also want to bring up, I think another really important thing about that video is that Jane Animations, if you don't know, is like primarily it's like pretty kid friendly channel. And I
Yeah.
think having like popular kids content addressing people being aroace is really great because you're also like there might be another like someone like Jane who was like really young and didn't know, and then they see Jane Zio and they're like, oh, I get it now.
And because again,
I'm not.
yeah, to some people, she's
Yeah.
like a content creator that they can like trust. So again, it's like educating them, and they're like, oh, this is normal. This coming from somebody that I know that I trust, and this is like totally normal, and like it creates more empathy for other people, which is really great.
Yeah. I think the most important thing about this conversation is empathy, just in general. Even just for people who don't know, because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't know anything about queer people. Just it's not even necessarily their fault. They just haven't been exposed to it. Especially a lot of older people. It's like I talked to my dad and they just didn't talk about being gay. It's just like it's like you don't acknowledge it. And it's like how are you supposed to learn any like if someone's willing to learn, I think that's like what's important. If they're trying their best, I think that's like what should be acknowledged. You know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, like something to point out with the Jaden Animations video. Once again, it's like the title isn't called "Being Airways," it's called "Being Not Straight," and it has the gay flag in the background, which I feel like kind of ties into like a lot of people's lack of understanding and knowledge about LGBTQ plus. Where it's like even in the video, like she acknowledges that it's like, but when she said like when she was saying like I'm Airways, and she was like, no, I know what you're thinking, like yeah, it's not gay. It's something else completely entirely different. I remember I was talking with my mom when I was explaining this project, and she was like, and she was thinking that she was thinking it was really weird because she wasn't used to like she was used to like understanding like trans or like gay, but she was not used to understanding like no attraction whatsoever, or like little to no attraction at least.
She got canceled over like the title and the thumbnail. It's like, dude, people are not getting the actual message. People associate the word straight to being heterosexual, and she is not heterosexual. She is. I don't know what she is like for like. I'm not assuming her sexuality, but she's aro ace. Because people assume people who are straight are heterosexual, and that's like she's trying like, nudging that like little. I like that how she like nudges that like little thought that everyone yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm glad
yeah,
that Amisha brought it up because it's just like it really makes people annoyed, but this is like it's really, but in like a good way, like because like she pokes fun at like society's norms, and it's yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think people just don't realize like the LGBTQ, the entire community is just people who just aren't I think this is the best way I've heard described. I've heard someone else describe it as people who don't fit like romantic and like society's expectations of what romantic and sexual attraction or lack thereof is. Like, it's just being LGBT is a lot of it is just not fitting into societal norms of what love quote unquote should be.
Mm-hmm.
In that, or even just gender, like love or gender or anything like that. It's like it's just and that leaves so much room for so many things, and I think a lot of people just don't realize that.
Yeah, like I feel like because you guys probably have some stories of people either being like ignorant or just like not understanding like what being like quote unquote not straight is. You know, it's like people think that like being straight is the only way. Where it's like no, it's not, guys. It's like
You're either straight or gay.
oh my
Or
gosh,
maybe
no.
Yeah.
bi if you're feeling spicy.
If you're feeling spicy,
Except some people don't believe bi people exist, which is another conundrum.
people think they're like quote unquote not like LGBT enough. They're too straight or whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. People are weird.
At this point, we don't even exist, according to people. So
Oh,
what's the
We
point?
don't.
what's the point,
We're
man?
No,
just like
no, we
comics on the
actually don't have
internet,
bias. We're
actually.
just voices
We're,
speaking to you.
we're disembodied voices.
We're AI.
Guys,
AI generated.
I have
We're
programmed
your
AI friends.
hallucinations.
I have programmed AI friends.
We're just your hallucinations.
Oh no!
Oh no.
When I post it to
Yeah.
YouTube, it's gonna be just
You
like me talking
created
to
us.
myself.
You're gonna you're gonna have to get one of those dogs that tells you if someone in front of you is real or not.
No. Oh my gosh. This is what's great about being straight is that you get queer friends who make fun of you and you love it. Like it's the best. It's the
Yeah.
best.
Oh, look, it's the one that doesn't know what we're talking.
Hey, it's the sissy. Get the pun?
That's, that's brilliant.
This is beautiful. I love
Oh
that.
my gosh. My dad thought, okay, I keep bringing in my parents, but I feel like it's such a good example because they grew up in the 80s.
It's okay. You're the airway spec person here, so like you
Yeah,
know.
I'm the elder here.
Oh.
I'm an elder.
Despite being younger than me.
Um,
I'm an elder queer, thank you very much. I've been out the longest.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
oh no.
You're welcome, son. Anyway. I was talking to him. He was like, "Oh, I don't like being called cis because it sounds like an insult." And I'm like, "Dad, it's a scientific term. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with it."
Don't worry, I'll make it into an insult.
It's
Yeah, no, that's actually weird. Oh, no, actually, that is a thing. I've heard people, like adults, certain types of adults, say that transgender and cisgender aren't scientific terms when they literally are.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a world. We're getting there. We're figuring it out.
yeah. Again,
Very
it's like
slowly.
yeah, like okay, more laws like they're more and more are being added, at least in certain places, like California.
Mm.
Again, like we need to work on like other places, because it's unfair that like not everybody gets to have like the same exact rights or like the same exact like acknowledgement as other people just because of like where you live. It's like
Not everyone can afford a $2 million house.
exactly. Thanks California for your very high rates. But like,
Oh.
We have
another
good
yeah.
rent laws.
Oh
Like
yeah. Like another law that I
that's
have written down here is October 9th, 2011, Governor Jerry Brown signs into law AB 887. You don't need to know what that is. Basically the Gender Non-Discrimination Act. It adds gender identity to the existing non-discrimination protections. So like it strengthens upon that. And so like there are non-discrimination protections and that has to be like labeled out. It's like saying endangered species as a list, you know? It's like you're
yeah.
acknowledging that it's a problem. And I think acknowledging that it's a problem is a good first step, but also like we need to like act more upon it.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of like okay, I like laws are great. We love having laws that have protections and rights, but I think if you don't change the social, then there's not much point.
Mhm.
Like think we were saying African American history earlier in the semester, and one of the things that we talked about was how you know, it was legal for African Americans to vote. They were like afraid to, because their names would get posted in the newspaper if they registered, and they could get like fired, they could get like a bunch, they could get killed, they could have people fall into their house, and it was it's a mess. And like, yes, the law, like, they're like, and I think it's definitely a testament to, you can have laws, but if nothing changes socially, then it doesn't really matter, because people are still going to be treated terribly.
That's why like I love organizations that are like openly trying to, like the Trevor Project again, like bringing it back. Like they're like a very well known like LGBTQ like plus kind of like they're for the community. They're helping out the community and they're very big. One organization that I know of is called Our Family Coalition, which kind of to put it simply, like what they do is they have like they have like a wide reach. Like they started out in the Bay Area, but like they kind of like are kind of like around the country now. And what they have, like they have workshops and the classes and groups and like education about like family diversity when it comes to LGBTQ plus, and just like they also have like support for like certain family members, which I think is really great because again it validates the point that like yes, straight people are not the only people in society. You know, that's I love that. It's like giving more support. Like I think like if people out there want to help and like support, like volunteering and donating are like the most like universal ways to be able to help like an organization or a group, like even just like
Yeah.
sharing the
Yeah.
message that it exists, like that just is universal. That helps a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
link
think
the
there's a
link
no, you
shameless plug of the organization. I don't know which one it
In the
is, but yeah.
description maybe, yeah.
Link in the description.
Link in the
I
description.
think yeah, I think there's also like a misconception. Like, you don't need money to make a difference. Like, honestly, like even like just educating yourself and helping other people educate themselves can be helpful. Like, you don't need money, or honestly a lot of resources, to make a difference. Like, you can, yeah. We're all in this together, as Friends has
Troy Bolton.
beautifully stated. No.
And like again it's like more like shoot, I was gonna say something super cool, but I forgot. So it's like sharing around like your knowledge and like even like speaking out. Like it's hard to speak out and it's something that sometimes it's really dangerous to speak out as well. But like
Yeah.
once you can, it's like you're sharing your story, you're sharing your experiences for people to like possibly latch onto and like understand that it's okay to be who they are. And again, this podcast probably wasn't very entirely Airway centric just because like a lot of this is based in America and
Lack of
America.
history.
Yeah, and like lack of history, like,
Or
it's really hard to get information on this deaths in America. But
I mean,
like,
obviously there is a history, but like it wasn't reported on, or it wasn't
yeah,
called the same thing. Like, it's like the thing where it's like, oh, yeah, there's probably more history, but it's really hard to find.
and again, it's like aphobia, like that could have probably very well existed back then, which
Yeah.
would like limit the amount of
Just it
research you
was
could
treated
find.
differently. It's like,
Yeah,
instead of it being, oh, Airways doesn't exist, it's, oh no, you'll grow into it eventually, son. You know,
and you
you'll
wouldn't,
like
son.
girls. Yeah, or you wouldn't. Like, you'll find people attractive at some point. It's
It's just a
the just
phase.
It's just a
ignoring
It's
of
phase.
just
it.
a
No,
Yeah,
no.
it's just a phase. Oh, um, speaking of which, I don't know. I've heard this before, but basically, it's like, oh, you're too young to know if you're Airways.
Oh my
It's like, you're a
god.
no.
teenager. You're a
Oh.
teenager. You can't know yet. You'll be a young adult. And honestly, I actually think that's probably what a lot of earlier era, like, Acephobia was like. It's just people going, oh, you'll grow into it.
Invalidation. God dang it. We have someone who has newly transitioned here in the chat. Let's introduce yourself. Do you have any like I don't know, like so far have you been met with like any backlash about like just in general like how do you know that you are like this identity, or how do you know that you're not going to change back once you're like, because it's like nothing wrong with experimenting, but like some people are like you are faking it or something like that, you know what I mean?
You're faking it. You're not actually what you say. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I know I'm not the person you were talking to, but I
Wait, it's me, right? Hold on.
Yeah.
Should be.
I
Yeah.
think
Richie.
unless Rich actually came out last, I think I have
I
no
came
idea
out
what
last
the
out of the 3, yeah.
out of the
Yeah.
3. I think I think I've gotten a lot of backlash from adults, but I think that's mainly because I came out younger.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know what your two's intentions are, but I'm planning on medically transitioning to some extent, so
Ooh,
get a lot of
congrats.
backlash for
Joy.
that.
Oh no.
Adults don't like that.
No, they hate that.
Yeah, no, the hormones. What do you mean you want to take hormones to become more masculine like you said you wanted? I've had adults tell me, it's like, that's not reversible. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
That's what I want.
Well,
Thank
good.
you.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. I
Better
mean,
be
I
getting my
can't
money's worth.
blame them because a lot of them don't know anything about being trans. At the same time, I don't want to be on the receiving end of your confusion, please.
Yeah.
Richie, go ahead.
Rich.
Okay, well, like, the thing about the people I'm around, or at least like people have been generally like pretty accepting. Generally, like the people who like
There's always exceptions.
yeah, there are always exceptions. But the people who like aren't the people that I like surround myself with, and I generally ignore in every way. So I don't usually have to be around those people, but it's usually just like I usually deal with a lack of like not believing me, like going, "Oh, no, it's just no, you're not."
Lack of acknowledgement.
And people like
Yeah,
probably
or like they'll be like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, sure, you're that," but then like won't try, won't change anything. Will just be like, "Oh yeah."
It's like some
Yeah,
people
I think the most irritating thing isn't even when they reject you. I think the worst thing is when they just pretend that the conversation never happened
Oh
because
my
you're like,
gosh. Ugh.
because
Yeah,
you can't even be angry, like officially angry at them because, oh, they technically weren't rejecting you, but you're also like, dude,
you're
could
just
at
being
least
mean.
try.
Do you want to share that like story about like there's like that one guy who was like still seeing you as female who was like kind of trying to hit on you, I think.
Oh yeah, like you haven't heard this, Ev, but like
Oh no,
uh,
that's never a good sign.
no, but when in one of my well, like for some like context, I can see why some people see me as being cis because I still like generally clothes that appear feminine, especially like when it's in warmer weather. Like I still enjoy skirts, so I wear them occasionally. So I and when this person hit on me, I was not fully. I was getting like to the point where I've gotten now. I haven't gotten to this point where I more look how I want to look. But so at first I didn't like blame the guy for not realizing until I told him outright, and he still didn't believe me. He was just weird in general, but me telling him and still continuing to call me female, the kid kept on just saying like, "Oh no, you're not," just like outright. Like it wasn't even that like, "Oh yeah, you're this," but then they just try. He just outright said, "No, you're not."
He outright said no. I
Yeah,
didn't
he
hear
just
that
like,
Oh.
"No."
part. I didn't hear that
Ooh.
part. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's not
And the-
very cash money. Jesus.
Gosh,
Not
buddy.
very.
No.
That's not
So
very, you know.
of course I was like, so of course I like rejected him and was like, I'm not gonna go on a date with you. But then he also proceeded to ask me to be his boyfriend.
Ah.
That was just so
Oh,
Ah.
the
funny.
fundamental
Oh
misunderstanding
no.
is interesting.
I feel that the
I
worst
still
part.
said no.
I think the
I feel like
worst
it's so
part.
much worse.
The worst part is that like even if you're like sorry, like I'm gay, they will take that as like a personal vendetta against them, and they will take it as a challenge upon themselves to go ahead and chase you. So I feel like even like despite gender, like there are people who will still try to chase you because they will not care about what you think that you are. They will care about what they
No,
think that you are.
it's like I want to prove to you that I
Yes.
can change you.
Yeah,
I
I can fix you. I can fix you.
this is
That's
on a
not.
very
Uh,
this is on a very similar note, but I hate when you tell someone like, "Oh, hey, I'm trans. I use he." Like doing an example of, "Oh, I use he and pronouns," and someone going, "Okay." Like I hate them going, "Okay, well, I still see." Like when people say that they like still see you as your
you're
like
like,
as AFAB or AMAB.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't, for
Yeah.
the listeners out there, if you don't know what AFAB or AMAB means, it means a signed female or signed male at birth. So like,
Yeah, so it's
like
like
trans man's AFAB.
it's like, yeah, I'm trans. Yeah, but you still seem like the gender that
Yeah.
you were assigned at birth. It's like, excuse me,
It's
are
so
you?
unnecessary.
It
It's like
is.
okay, thanks. I guess I didn't need to hear that. It's like I think there's like this weird thing where people think that you want their opinion, and it's like no, I just want to go about my
Nobody.
day.
I'm me looking for who asked, bro. Nobody asked.
Nobody
I can't even
asked.
finish my coffee before being questioned about my gender.
In front of my
I
salad,
know.
dude.
I've had people I've had like a few people be like they think that just because I'm non-binary I suddenly want to get into like political or heavy discussions. Nah, bro.
Oh
I just want to
god.
go to my
No.
earth science class. Leave me alone.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
no. When people like bring it up out of the blue and you're just like, we're in math.
We're in
No.
math.
Why
That's to
here?
study for.
No, they want to try to calculate your gender because you're non-binary. That's why.
They bring math into it. No.
No. And I suck at math
Oh
too. Damn it.
gosh.
As
Sometimes it's just not necessary. It's like okay, I think I'm one of the more like politically active or vocal people here on a general basis.
probably.
But I still
Yeah.
like I don't want to just I'm not going to talk about queer politics just because I'm queer. Can you leave me alone, please? It's like it's
Yeah.
8 a.m.
The thing is that one reason why a lot of like LGBTQ or queer people are like on one side is because that's the side that like at least acknowledges their existence, or like it's the side that's not like trying to kill them.
Yeah.
That's usually why they're political, because they're just trying not to like trying to keep our rights, you know?
Yeah,
Not
And
yeah.
there's also a thing that you
victim.
said earlier where it's like we have to prove that we exist. So like if we're not politically active enough, then it will be like I don't know, it will be used as like a talking point against us, and it's
It's like
weird.
it's like more of like an
Mhm.
validation point saying that, oh, yeah, you guys don't exist because if you aren't talking, you all don't exist. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's
that's
like you
not
don't
how
want
it
to
is.
constantly engage in a political conversation.
And I will say that, like, again, I am a straight person. Again, I'm putting that out there. I'm saying that again. But I have friends, a lot of friends who are queer, and so I feel like when, like, sometimes when people learn that I have queer friends, like, they will come up to me and ask, like, you're a reasonable, sensible person, right? I mean, you should explain to me how this works. And I'm like, I don't know how being trans works. I'm not a trans person. Just like I don't have any experiences in that category. Please do not ask me. Like it is like I don't have like any experiences, so I don't know why you're asking me, despite the fact that I am straight.
No.
Like it makes no sense.
I know, it's like also
I feel like-
okay. Trans people do not have just because someone is trans does not mean they know every experience about being trans. Like I
Mhm.
had a I had a friend who came out as trans femme. And while I did my best to help her, I did not know I could not give her like all the stuff. I could not give her like all the instruction because I did not know. Like I don't know what it's like to be trans femme. I'm not trans femme, and
That's kind of
that's
the opposite of what you
there's
are.
very
Yeah.
identifiable experiences with being trans femme. that I
Evan
do
is
not
not
identify
WikiHow.
with.
Guys, we're not a WikiHow page.
not a
We
WikiHow
are not.
page.
I wish we were. Sometimes I wish I was.
Yeah, but there are like a lot of stereotypes where it's like if you're in the community, you know every single label, you know every single person. It's like no, you don't. You don't have to
No.
know. That's not.
There's so many
Also, new
labels.
stuff
No one
comes
can
out
remember
all the
anything.
time. And
Mhm.
new stuff comes out all the time. There are especially like okay, like a lot of Arrow people who are queer who aren't Arrow Ace don't know a lot of Arrow Ace labels because you know
They don't need to because they're not
they
Arrow
haven't
Ace,
had
you
to
know.
explore
Yeah.
that. And
Mhm.
also, as we've brought up, there's a lot of like discrimination against Arrow Ace people even within the community. So like a lot of people don't know about because no one talks about it. And then you like when I was looking into the Arrow Ace spectrum, I like got bombarded with information because I just didn't know anything.
And we maybe should talk
Like
about more about
I
acephobia.
yeah.
Like elaborating more on the fact about acephobia that it exists. Basically, it's discrimination against asexual or aromantic people or people who are on that like Arrow Ace spec, who like even in the LGBTQ community, people like say that like they don't exist or like they shouldn't be in the community, which is basically acephobia. They're like just kind of like you don't exist, you know. And so like
Yeah.
that kind of ties into like a lot of like the public view of LGBTQ plus community is just you're gay or you're lesbian and that's it. So that's like the thing that a lot of people see, and so like people who are generally the face of the LGBTQ plus community, I will say, are tend to be lesbian or gay people who are like middle class, doing like okay for themselves because that's the kind of image that they want to project, and that's like what they're getting support for. But like some like a lot of times like they're like afraid of like I guess putting forth new like identities out into like the radiant sun we have because like they're afraid of the whiplash and they're afraid that like the support that they have now might like turn on them because like you know because of that. So a lot of the reason that's a lot of the reason why I feel like there's not a lot of representation because there's like a very specific like image of the LGBTQ plus community that is there, and you know that's apparently how it has to be represented, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's a very specific like view that people have when people imagine like uh the LGBTQ community or people like as you said usually like only trans and like gay people who are usually white and middle class. And it's a little bit like it's incorrect because the like community is so huge and like
Yeah.
the community was even like truly like started and built up by uh like
People of
trans black
color.
women. So it's
Mhm.
like our
Yeah.
So again, it's like not all people are white in the community in it, but I feel like I see a lot of like not that many much like diversity even in the community when it's like I see some types of these things.
I actually want to bring up something about shows it real quick if we want to talk about representation of shows too.
Mhm.
Um, fact that so many there's like a lot there. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's not much queer like queer people of color represented in shows. And I've
Yeah.
heard like and whenever you see it, like I've seen people like accuse it of like you're like oh you're shoving a bunch of you're trying to get minority points, you're trying to shove a bunch of minorities into one character. It's like no, some people are just in multiple minorities. You got
people just
you
exist.
know, that's who people are. They have more than one facet to them. Not everyone's white. Also, the default is not white.
Mhm. The default is
Hmm.
human. That should be the default, honestly.
Yeah, think about it this way. What if they're just people and you're the only one who actually has made a like what think about it this way. What if they're just people and you're the one making a big deal out of their the different facets of their identity? What if you're the problem? Have you ever thought about that?
Oh no. Dude, you're gonna cause like an uproar on the internet, dude. Like, what if you're the
Gonna
problem?
cause outrage.
You get
No.
canceled, bro.
Gonna get canceled.
Hashtag
I'm already
hashtag Evan's over party. Let's go.
let's
Let's
go.
go.
uh,
Evan is over.
I'm no longer associated with Evan. I do not know him. He got canceled on the internet, therefore I do not know him.
and, uh,
Again, again, that is against trans people, but that is against airway spec people. Therefore, you can, again, it's society's problem.
There's a lot of problems. We're only covering some problems right now.
Yeah, I feel like, again, because airways is much more of like a newer thing, I'm covering the more general
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus kind of like topics and making it a little bit more inclusive. But if you guys,
Is there any
Yeah.
other topics you want
My
to
episode's
cover?
gonna be a bit more specific, but that's because I have more information.
like, if anything that people here have said resonated with you, like, please search it up. Please explore for yourself because, like, again, it's all about like experience and like there's like a lot of like interesting like laws and facts and stuff that like a lot of people don't know. Like, again, it's like let me see, when I was researching it, I didn't think a lot, like when I was like before this project, I didn't like think a lot about like how like adoption laws were like discriminating like A, children, and B, like parents from like adopting children. And like that's like super important in society. And like
Yeah.
it's like it's made me use my brain. Believe it or not, I've used my brain during this project. And like I definitely learned a
Yeah.
lot. Anything else you guys want to add before we probably will end this? Because this is 1 hour 30 minutes. Y'all can add whatever you want.
Watch my episode. Also, I don't know about anyone else here, but I am willing, like, if you are question, my episode's not gonna be on this, as much of this information. But if you have questions about Arrow 8 stuff, I will be happy to tell you about my experience.
Yeah,
If you
and
want to
there's
message
like
me.
a lot of like online forums as well where you can like go and ask questions and you can kind of like
Yeah,
interact with people. Yeah.
yeah. Just do your
Yeah.
research.
Donate to your project. Donate to whatever organization was gonna be plugged in there. I don't.
Our family
Yeah.
coalition, please pay attention to
Let's
them because they're great.
go.
Woo!
Yeah.
Because like they're amazing. Look at other like LGBTQ topics and like organizations if you want to help them too, because that's like, again, that really helps the community. And like, please spread the information. Please spread the
Yeah.
information. Like, if
And
people,
oh
yeah, go ahead.
And if you didn't know anything before you watched this, if you have no idea like half the stuff we were talking about, that's okay. We hope you learned something.
Yeah, congrats for coming to the video and learning a
You've
little
Yay.
bit.
done you're on a step of your journey. Congratulations.
Woo!
We
Yay.
hope we hope you go further.
Mhm.
This is so extremely scuffed.
Also, we did do our research. However, I do want to say, do not take everything that we Misha already said this with the game, but don't take everything we say for granted. Do your own research on everything,
Mhm.
because information
Yeah.
changes.
Again, as a straight
Yeah,
person
we're
researching this, I'm gonna hammer this home because I feel like, just you can never be too careful with the internet. I am not part of the LGBTQ community. I am an ally, okay? I am not the most knowledgeable.
Yes.
And before this project, I had not done a lot of research. So this project has like given me new information, but I am not trying to speak on behalf of the community. I am not claiming that I am. I am not trying at all whatsoever. I'm just like providing more like resources. And again, I will probably link my like resources and like work cited in the description because that's what I gotta do for the project. But like, if any of this
Yes,
interested
and
you,
also yeah.
go ahead.
Yes. If this resonated with you, that's great. But also, we are part of the LGBT. But we also do not speak for the entire community. And also
yeah.
information changes so quickly. Like we could have they might come out with something tomorrow and it's like, "Oh, we had no idea about that." But,
Yeah. Mhm.
Ouch.
we're trying our best, but
Yep.
don't
You're
take
only
us for
talking.
granted.
Yeah. So thank you for coming. Thank
So
you, my friends, for
yeah.
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Thank
a
Woo!
it's
you.
gonna be a
Thank
pain.
you.
It's gonna be a pain to like try and like get to edit this, but like, again, this
I
has
have a
been,
Yeah.
headache,
yeah.
so
Oh
I'm gonna have to
no,
leave you
Godspeed.
for a
dude.
bit to not.
Again,
All
this has
right.
been Amisha, me. This has been also Nix and Evan and Richie. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for helping me.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah.
Random question: what
Yeah.
would you guys like to be study? Like, if you guys could study one part, just like have one random study, what would you guys want to do?
Ooh. That's like related to this conversation?
Or just like healthcare in general. Like, what would you guys want to like investigate? Just like it could be like mental health. It could be like I don't know something.
I would have I would want like especially like different. I would have like especially stuff to do with ADHD and autism. I would have one of those studies run by someone who has ADHD or autism, because a lot of people who do studies on autism are allistic. Like ASD is a very complicated thing, and there's a lot of things that they like people want to know who have it. Like people who are on the spectrum have things that they want to know, but we don't get answers to them because you know no there's a like obviously, like as I said before, most of the studies are by holistic people, so they're kind of just looking into like what they're interested in, and also most of the studies are like incredibly biased against like neurodivergent people.
Mhm.
So
I think I would want to look up like mine probably goes out of like the realm of just like human studies but into animals a little. But I'd be curious to see like how much being transgender like scientifically like and like our social norms interact. Like would it be possible for animals to be
Dude,
transgender? Probably
clown,
we
not, but
actually
like
have
I
some
want to
stuff on
see.
that.
bro, clownfish are
I would
trans.
look it up.
Clownfish and sponges are trans. I'm pretty sure. Like you know how like in
It's
you know how
yeah,
like
there's a
in
lot of stuff
yeah.
on this actually.
Cool, I want to
Well,
know
it's
more.
kind of it's more recent, but there is some stuff on it. I would look it up.
And again, this is not like
Specifically of
yeah.
lions, which is very interesting.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Also, like clownfish. Like you know how
Nice
like
lines,
in
nice.
you don't know how like in Nemo where like the wife dies. Spoiler alert for Nemo. If you guys haven't watched it, but you know. Spoiler alert. You know how the mom
Uh,
dies and like Marlin slowly becomes more protective of the child. Like in a realistic setting, like um clownfish. Like if one parent dies, the other like make slowly like um transforms, but like transitions. That's the right word. Transitions to the other gender to like provide for the child, which is what goes on in Nemo, which is interesting. It's
Yeah,
very
I
unsettling.
think yeah. Though I think that's definitely more literal thing. But the thing I'm talking about with lions specifically, I was talking about lions specifically, is you'll have I think it's actually very interesting because lions have a pretty decent social dynamic that you don't see with a lot of other animals. So it's like or like you see them with a lot of animals, but I think lions have a very apparent social dynamic. So we actually, and also we see a lot of stuff like what was it? I think it was a lot of times like lionesses will start like growing, will like grow like short manes, like a mane, or they can get pretty big, but they're usually a bit shorter than the AMAB. But they'll grow manes and they'll start acting like male lions and like protecting their little packs. It's really interesting. I'll
That's
look
so
into it.
beautiful. That's so beautiful,
we
man. I
should.
love that. Oh no, not the. Oh my gosh.
Water.
Oh, no, I mean, okay, frog's gay icon, sure, but like,
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. This actually adds on to the tangent. Have you guys heard about what the gay bomb is? I'm not talking about the water and the frogs. I'm talking about like an
Wasn't
actual
it like
historical
war or
thing.
something? Was
So
it like
so yes. So the gay bomb was something theorized by the US military. And actually, yes, I think it was the US military. It's basically it's a bomb filled with like female hormones so that like
whatever the fuck that means?
basically you set it off, it'll spread the female hormones so the soldiers will become like attracted to each other and gay, and then they'll
uh,
be like they'll be too ashamed to fight.
what? Excuse
And
me?
it got
Genius
way
plan.
too far in the to production. It got way too far of an idea. Like it didn't get made. This wasn't like a completed thing, but it got too close to completion.
What even counts as like female hormone? Because like they have estrogen and they also have
I
testosterone,
don't
which is
know.
commonly
I'm
found
gonna
in men.
assume
So,
estrogen,
uh,
but like
How
humans
do
don't
you?
really have pheromones in
uh,
this. Like I'm just confused. I don't.
I'm confused and frankly, I'm offended.
I yeah, so I feel felt like that was relevant to Richie's point.
This is the most
I
relevant we've
feel like
ever
it was.
gotten. I think it was too. I think we all know that it was very relevant.
Yeah, no, but like, okay, yeah, it's just showing like how it's just showing, I guess, like the bias, the insanity.
How ridiculous
I
some
don't
people
know.
are.
I like how there's like a very clear question mark in your voice. The bias? The
I mean,
What
there's
even is
definitely some
this?
bias in there, but I don't even think like I want to know the thought process of
dude,
that.
the genius behind it.
Oh, that's also making me think of some other stuff, but that's not quite relevant right now.
No,
Specifically,
literally.
the ostrich one. I feel the have you guys seen the WikiHow about how to be an ostrich?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes,
That's my
that
danger now, ostrich.
WikiHow specifically.
There should be one on how to be a possum, bro. I would do that. I'd follow those
I think
steps.
there is.
Send it to
I
me.
would not be surprised if there was
So the
one.
URL link to me. Oh god, can we talk about like
Oh,
again this is like a side tangent, but can we talk about like Pride Month Twitter, the profile pictures?
Oh my
the
word.
multiplication of Twitter is